So my month of May reading was a pretty good month. I read a total of 12 books. Hi, my name is Jeanette, and I want to thank you for joining me on the channel Jane Reads. So today I'm going to talk about the books that I read in the second half of May. So I read a total of 12 books in May. I talked about 6 of them in the mid-month wrap-up that I posted, so I will link that video below in the description bar. And so I have 6 books to talk about in this video. So the first book to talk about in this video is the one that I finished for the library prompt, which was Across the Blue by Carrie Turansky. I did a full reading vlog on that book, so I will link that reading vlog in the description below, and then let's talk about the other ones. So I have finished Across the Blue. This by Carrie Turansky. This is a historical fiction set in the early 1900s, and we follow James, a young aviator, and Isabella, who is a young lady entering her 3rd season, as her mother says. She wants to be a journalist, but her mom has dreams of her marrying into a higher class. I mean, they're already fairly wealthy themselves, but wants to marry up. So the two of them kind of get to know each other a bit, and James doesn't fit into her parents' kind of plan for Isabel. And Isabel doesn't really she doesn't care about marrying. She wants to be a journalist first. That's her dreams. So we follow them kind of go through that. I did a reading vlog on this book, and I've already returned the book to the library, hence I don't have the physical copy to show you. But I will link that reading vlog below, because in that I give my full thoughts on this book. But here I'm just going to say I really enjoyed it. I loved these characters, watch following, and I was cheering for Isabel to be able to change her parents' kind of plans for her life and be able to do what she wants to do. And I gave this book 5 stars. I just really enjoyed it. So then the next book I read was Dead Lawyers Tell No Tales by Randy Singer. So this one I'd had on my Kindle since 2014. It was released in 2013, but I mean, it was time to read it. So I read this one because one of the prompts I got during my May TBR game was the suitcase prompt from the Around the World game. For the suitcase prompt, I had to choose 5 books that I was really excited about and 5 books that I was not so excited about. So I decided for the not so excited about books, I put the 5 books, the books I've owned the longest on my Kindle. So hence 2014. So then I spun a wheel with those 10 books, and Dead Lawyers is the book that came up. So that is why I chose to read it. So it is a legal thriller. We are following Landon Reed, who is an ex-football player who has just been released from prison after serving 2 years for a point shaving scandal. He comes out of prison as a changed man. He's now turned his life to Christ and wants to be a lawyer, has started taking courses. Then once he's released, he marries his longtime girlfriend, Carrie Reed, who has waited for him during his prison time. And he finally gets to hold his baby. So the baby's 2.5 maybe, or 2 years, something like that. Pretty young anyways. So they get married on his first day out of jail, and they kind of start their life together. Then the book picks up 3 years later. He is now finished law school, and he is starting his first job as a lawyer. He gets hired onto a law firm, and he gets his first case, and that case, it goes so much more than what is expected going into it. So much more. So his mentor and boss, the lawyer that took him under his wing, gets murdered. Then, a little while later, 2 more lawyers get murdered. Is the firm being targeted? Is the lawyers being targeted? Like, what is going on? I really liked Landon and Carrie. That's his wife. I really liked them, and I really wanted to see him kind of succeed and kind of his life change now that he's like decided to kind of live a better life, kind of a more honest man. So I really like that. So the fact that lawyers are being killed, it's like, oh, please don't. Like, and it's obvious that he's getting targeted, right? So I'm like, oh, I really wanted them to be okay. I was really hoping they would be okay. There are quite a few various storylines that are happening. So we jump from one event to another event. And when that was happening early on, I was like, how are these connected? Like, why are we getting to know about this now? I mean, you know that as a reader, you know that it's being introduced because it's going to impact something else later on. But at first it was like, you're taking me away from the story I want to read, what's going on, to read this thing that I just don't really care about, right? But eventually, as expected, they do interweave, and we kind of know, we find out why we knew all that other stuff before, like why it was introduced. It really felt like I was reading multiple stories for the first half of the book, and I did not like that. The other thing I did not like about this book is, I mean, he is an ex-football player, so there's a lot of football references given, or kind of, you know, this has happened, this is similar to how this works in football. And I was like, sure, I don't know football at all, so I was completely lost on those references, and I could have done with a lot less of them. What I really enjoyed about this book is really the characters and the relationships between the characters. I was really invested in Landon and Carrie's relationship, and can they make this work? They both have dreams, they're both pursuing their own jobs, and possibilities as any like husband and wife couple, they get opportunities in different places. Can they support one another and stay together? Then there is Billy, who is a friend of Landon, who was a teammate back in his college football days, and now Billy has gone on to play professional football. And he comes back during the off season and helps them and supports them and kind of starts acting like bodyguard for them and their daughter. And I just, the friendship that Billy provided, I loved him. I would have loved to know more about him other than the whole football thing. I probably could care less about. But yeah, so I really liked him. And I really enjoyed following like the trial stuff. And the ending shocked me. I did not see the twist at the end coming. Like, it was just like, what? Really? And then they kind of explain more of it, and I'm just like, oh, I did not suspect that at all. So I gave this book 3 stars because it moved slow and had just really like stuff I just did not care about. So it was hard to stay invested the whole time. Then the next book I finished was The Truth Seeker by D. Henderson. This is book 3 of the O'Malley series. So now I have finished this book. Yay! So here's the actual cover of the book by itself, because this is a bind-up edition. So I finished book 3. I listened to this on audiobook. And as I said, it's book 3 of the O'Malley series. In this one, we are following Quinn, who is a U.S. Marshal. He is a partner of Marcus O'Malley, who we met in book 2. So we met Quinn in book 2. Then the other character is Lisa O'Malley, who is one of the O'Malley siblings, and she is a forensic pathologist. The book opens with Lisa at a scene, kind of investigating and working. And then Quinn comes to town to ask Lisa for his help. And we know from book 2 that Quinn has kind of been pursuing Lisa, and Lisa's being like, no. And I totally understood Lisa of why she didn't want to get involved with Quinn. I really liked Quinn in book 2. I really did. Like, he's a U.S. Marshal, but he's really a cowboy at heart. Grew up in Montana, has a ranch in Montana. But what I didn't like about Quinn is he has dated 2 of the O'Malley sisters, and now he's going after Lisa, who's the third. And a bit later into the book, we find out no, he actually dated 3 of the O'Malley sisters. Lisa is the 4th, the only sister left. So it's kind of like, well, you know, he presents that saving the best for last, and Lisa's like, yeah, no, you're just working your way down through us. Like, so I totally got why Lisa was not on board for that. Totally. Like, talk about not feeling special, right? then the case itself, I wasn't invested in it as much as I kind of expected to be, or as I have been with other suspense cases. And the way that it wraps up, it was like, wait, what just happened? Like, we went from here to here. Like, I missed all this? Like, what? So I did not like that. And then Quinn is a Christian and Lisa is not a Christian. But Quinn is pursuing her and hopes that he can convert her, kind of stuff. And a couple of the other O'Malley siblings are trying to convert her as well. But he gets really invested and his feelings get really involved. And it's just like, I don't know if you're following what God tells you to do, right? Like, because he even makes a comment at one point that if I didn't believe, and it was like, but you do. So I gave this book 3 stars because I just didn't connect with it like I did the other ones. But I have started book 4 because I got to keep working my way through the series. So the last book I finished, or the most recent book I finished, is The Happy Life of Isadora Bentley by Courtney Walsh. This book releases on June 13th. I had an advanced reader copy from NetGalley, and I really expected to really enjoy this book. We are following Isadora Bentley, who is a researcher at a university, and she's very kind of nerdy, an introvert, likes to be alone, would rather work alone, very comfortable in her comfort zone, and not great around people. And she sees this article, 31 Ways to Be Happy. And she, on a whim, she picks it up and is like, I'm gonna disprove this article. She doesn't think it's written by a professional doctor, as it's kind of marketed as. And she's going to go through all 31 steps and prove that this does not make you happy. Well, you can guess how that kind of goes, right? So as she's working through the steps, her life changes. The very first step is smile. Like, smile to a stranger. And through that one little action, she meets somebody and they become friends. Then she meets somebody else and they become friends. And so then her friendship circle grows. And she was really picked on as a kid, and so she's kind of taken all that protection, like keep her to herself to not get hurt, right? She's now in her early 30s. And you can see how it's affected her life. And yes, when she starts this project, she's not very happy. And I really enjoyed following her and kind of seeing how other people are affecting and the impact other people are having on her and pushing her out of her comfort zone. And she's doing a lot of things that she would have never done before if she hadn't tried this project. What I did not really like about this book is it's marketed as Christian fiction. It's published by Thomas Nelson. Courtney Walsh has written a lot of Christian fiction books, but there's pretty much no faith in this story. And pretty much it ends with Isadora saying, happiness is a choice and I need to choose to be happy. Yes, that's true. But cannot God help you with the happiness? It's not only like yourself. I don't know. It just, in a way, it sort of felt a little new agey self-help book kind of that way to me, because she was really relying on herself. And somebody says to her, I want to make you happy. And she's like, you can't make me happy. I need to make myself happy. I don't know. The more I think about it is I really enjoyed these characters, and I really enjoyed some of the messages that were shared throughout. So I'll share quotes in a minute. But it really felt very self-focused, and that kind of really bothered me, because I thought, like, I really expected to really like Isadora and really relate to Isadora about some things, and I did in some ways, like, but other ways, no. A couple of the quotes are: 1, nobody ever got anywhere in life by avoiding the things that scared them. You have to try to get out, right? Then the second quote is, maybe happiness isn't about what you do. Maybe it's about who you do it with, or simply accepting who you are. Like, I really like that as well. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm on a fence between a 3 and a 4. And I think because it doesn't have the faith that I was really hoping it would have, that it really was open to having. Like, it really could have had. And I think because of that, I want to knock it down. But because I don't do half stars and stuff, 3 just seems low, but 4 seems too high. I'm going to have to really think about those half-star things. So we're going with the 3 as of right now. Okay, so I have 2 books to talk about, and the first one is Double Indemnity by Robert Whitlow. I received this as an advanced reader copy through NetGalley, and it actually releases tomorrow, June the 6th. So this is a legal thriller. We are following Liz Acosta, who is a lawyer, and Connor Grantham, who is a pastor, and then Elena and Matt Thompson, who are a married couple that Connor is providing marriage counseling to, and that Elena has approached to talk about possible divorce proceedings, kind of what her options are. This one, I really enjoyed the characters, Liz and Connor, and they're both really trying to help Elena out. Very shortly, we get to know the characters of Elena and Matt, but very early on in the book, Matt dies. Is it murder? Was it an accident? Was it suicide? Like, why did he die? Like, what are the reasons for that? So then the whole life insurance policy comes into effect, and Elena asks Liz, her lawyer, to look into that. As they're looking into it, they realize that there is a clause called double indemnity. I had no idea what that really was, and I had to look it up before because they're talking this legal term, and I was like, what? I mean, if I had waited and kept reading a little bit more, it does explain in the book what that is. So basically, it's for the life insurance policy. It's a clause on this type of policy that she had, or that Matt had, I guess, was if something happened to him and it was an accident, the beneficiary will get double the life insurance amount. So say the life insurance amount was $1 million, and it was found out that his death was ruled an accident, then Elena, as his wife, would get $2 million. Okay? But if the beneficiary has anything to do with his death and it's not ruled an accident, then obviously they don't get that money. So, I mean, we're following Elena grieving during this time. She's just lost her husband. She has to deal with all the funeral stuff, and their relationship was complicated because Matt did have an ex-wife and children from the first marriage and stuff, right? So that adds a little bit more complication into the whole will and everything, right? And Elena really felt like one day she was fine, the next day it was like completely different personality, right? And I mean, part of that is she is dealing with grief, so it was kind of expected in a bit. but she was really, really dependent on both Connor and Liz. And Connor is her pastor and trying to help her through this, but Connor is a single male and can't, he's very cautious of the way he approaches the females within the church because of that. And especially the fact that when they first established a relationship, Elena was married, right? So it was always kind of very door open during meetings and stuff like that, just which is normal practice in a church and should be for protection of both individuals. So it really felt really realistic. I really enjoyed that. And it was really easy to follow the law side and kind of what was going on. And I was really like, okay, did something more happen, or is it just a real tragic accident? What is going on? Because there's a lot other, because Connor has Matt has a business as well, and so there's a whole business aspect of stuff, and maybe the business isn't doing as well as it was thought to be, and they have a life insurance policy on him because he's an owner, and so it's just there's a lot of layers being added into it. And during this, Liz has just started attending Connor's church. And so Elena at times is suspicious that Liz and Connor are talking about Elena when they're really just talking about, like, to each other, getting to know each other, because they're both single and feelings kind of start to develop. So I really enjoyed the characters in this. I really enjoyed following the mystery and figuring out what was going on. I had suspicions of who we could trust and who maybe we couldn't trust. But then you're in a small town, and if you know anything about small towns or the way they're perceived in books is, rumors start spreading, and other people seem to know what's going on before it's really released by the police and stuff, right? Like, so everything really felt realistic to me. Like, I really enjoyed this. So I gave this book 4 stars because I really enjoyed these characters and following them. And we kind of get really into Connor's head and how he is sharing and preparing for his sermons and kind of wanting to lead, and how, like, other people have witnessed to him. So, I mean, there is big faith in this, which was really nice to see, especially because the main character is a pastor. So if there wasn't the faith, that would have not felt realistic at all, right? So yes, so that was the next book I finished. Then I finished Alaskan Avalanche Escape by Darlene L. Turner. This book was loaned to me by a friend, and so I really wanted to read it to get it back to her. And I've really enjoyed a lot of Darlene's books in the past. I think this is her 7th book maybe, and I've read 6 of them, I think, something like that. And I needed to read a new release for romance book for Oshina's yearly reading challenge. And this one came out in March. So I'm counting that as a new release because even though I finished that other new release that's coming out in June, it's not really categorized as a romance. So this one fit that reading challenge. So this one is completely different season than what we're experiencing right now at my house. And we are dealing with winter and avalanches in the Alaskan wilderness. Kind of, we are on the Alaska and Yukon border, so US-Canada border, and there's a joint task force that kind of monitors both borders and does search and rescue for those that get stuck in avalanches. But there's been a lot more avalanches than kind of the weather calls for, and when somebody gets injured on the team, they really start looking into it, like, what is going on? And then as they start looking, then gunshots start happening, and it's like, okay, well, this is more sinister than what we expected, right? Because now they're being targeted. So there was a lot of action in this book, a lot of action, and a lot of snow, and a lot of avalanches. Like, I don't know how many times it was like, avalanche, take cover. Like, there was a lot of them. But what I did not really enjoy about this book is that at one point, like, everything's happening back to back. Like, it's like they can't get to safety, or when they think there's safety, something else happens. And then all of a sudden there's a 2-day rest period where nothing happens, and it's kind of like, okay, well, I'll see you in 2 days. And nothing happens. And I'm just like, okay, so it's 10, and then all of a sudden it breaks, but they knew that this break was going to happen. Like, I didn't really understand that, but I don't know. And with the two main characters, so we're following a mountain survival expert, Jayla, and a Alaskan park ranger, Bryson Clark. And they had previously worked together. We're told that. I don't know if they previously worked together in one of her books. I'm not sure. But we're told that they had previously worked together, but because of something that happened in the past, Jayla doesn't trust Bryson, and Bryson is trying to get Jayla to trust him and say, like, he's not the same person he was when that happened. So we know that they have a past, and they're kind of getting, they have to work together to kind of figure out what's going on, kind of save each other's backs. And so they're with each other like 24/7 for a period of time. And feelings start to develop. And I didn't really feel the feelings. I don't feel like they really got to know each other really well, or got to kind of take that time to really figure out what went wrong before. Not that they were dating before, but why they were so annoyed with each other before. So I did not feel the romance. That's all. But I really, I was into the mystery and figuring out who can they trust and who can't they trust, because they can't trust members of their own team, it seems, it appears. And so I really liked it. Do I really recommend reading an Avalanche winter-based book in May when we're getting summer weather, and now June? Probably not, but if you're really hot, this might cool you down. But I like to be warm, and I don't like snow, and the thought of being stuck on a mountain, no thank you. No thank you. I like the parts where they sit in front of the fireplace and warm up after spending hours outside. That's my idea of comfort. But yes, as I said, I wanted to get it read to return to my friend. So I gave this book 4 stars because the action kept me invested and the mystery kept me invested. So those are all the books that I read in the second half of May. And as I said, I will link the video for my review of the books that I read in the first half of May. So again, I had a really good reading month. I read 12 books, with 2 of those being audiobooks. I'm pretty happy, and I think majority of them were pretty good. Well, I think there were quite a mix of reads, but I found a book that's possibly in the running for one of my yearly favorites, so that makes it a good month alone, right? So I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video today. And if you like my channel, I would love it if you would like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thank you. Bye.